Yeah. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Forsac Academy and IntelliCloud Solutions. So I'm your host, Manika Goel, and I'm back with another live conversation with my co-CEO and with my friend Pallavi Agrawal. She's we will be talking about a lot about women getting back to work and how we can kind of help them come back to work and how we can kind of help them get into the workforce with a bang. And that's where I thought nothing best would work out rather than getting Pallavi here on the call. So, guys, I'll just give a brief introduction about Pallavi as well. So, Pallavi is the CEO and founder of Candor Consult, which is a woman-driven and and an immigrant founded Salesforce boutique firm based out of US. She has a passion of helping her clients on their journey to get the strategic implementations, project management, and a lot on the analysis, business analyst part. Pallavi comes with 15 years of management consulting experience, and she loves traveling, snowboarding, hiking, and biking. And she is, I think, even more passionate about mentoring women in the community for their personal and career growth. Right. And not just that, Pallavi is a Golden Hoodie winner. So that's one of the most prestigious awards that you can get from Salesforce, right? So welcome once again to this conversation, and let's get started with a discussion with Pallavi on how we can get the women and how we can kind of channelize the right set of energies and how we can how the organizations should be kind of helping around. So that is all we'll be talking about today, right? So for me, I'm Manika Goel, and I've been talking to you guys, I think, almost more than a year now. And I love to bring such interesting conversations that can benefit the community. So welcome, Trailblazers, and let's talk to our Golden Hoodie Trailblazer, Pallavi, today. Welcome, Pallavi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us and listening in on this conversation. I'm excited to be here.
Right. So Pallavi, we'll get started with I'll start shooting some questions to you, right? So, right. So Pallavi, why empowering women to return back to work is important to you? I mean, that's like one curious question that I wanted to understand from you.
I think it's a very personal agenda of mine to a certain degree. Growing up in the Indian culture, it wasn't always easy for women to be in the workforce in my family, at least. I don't know if that's across. And so taking time off to do something as important as taking care of your family, raising your kids, doesn't mean you have to give up your career forever, right? When the timing is right for each individual and they want to come back to the workforce, it can be very daunting knowing
Right.
when you have these questions in your head, right? Especially the way technology moves so fast. It's like the conversations I've had with other women who are coming back into the workplace is they don't even know if the skill sets they had when they left the workplace to go focus on something else and come back, if those still translate, or have they become too archaic in their knowledge versus where the technology is. So I think the reminder that nothing is wasted, knowledge is never wasted, and there's so much that you can bring from your previous life and translate into workforce is so important, because it's really about those transferable skills versus the technical skills. The transferable skills are mostly like the soft skills of multitasking, management, communication, leadership, all of those things that come from any aspect of what you do in life, especially even if you're managing a household, right? Like you need so much of those skills. So it's reminding people that even if you stepped away from the workplace, you were still exercising those skills and honing in on those skills every day.
Yes.
And those are the key skills that are needed in the workforce when you're entering back in to really succeed in your career. Technology moves so fast that even even as a CEO of a company, now we're all learning about AI right now. And I'm trying to read up on it, do research on it, talk about it. It's a brand new technology to a certain degree.
Right.
So it's not about that technology because you can learn the technology and it'll, by the time you learn it, something else is coming up. So you got to stay in that constant learning mode with the technical aspects. But those soft skills, we all have them. It's a matter of what we enjoy with them, what we want to offer, and how we skill up with them to come back into the workforce. So that's why it's important to me to remind them that it's not hard. Like you can do it. You've been doing it.
Right. So giving them the right confidence, right, to come back.
Yeah.
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 So when we're talking about technology, so one question actually came to my mind that how do you think Salesforce actually helps in as a technology for the women to come back, or I mean the returning workforce basically?
One of the biggest key differentiators with Salesforce is anything they put out as a new technology, they have so much free learning material around it.
Right.
And they do it from like a foundational baseline to the expert level. So even if you don't, like for me, I'm considered a generalist to a certain degree because I've worked in so many different technologies throughout my career.
Right.
And I'm not in depth with any one of them. I am not a solution architect or a technical architect in any regard for any of the technologies I've ever worked with. But I can, for Salesforce at minimum, I can go and learn about the applications of the new features on a foundational level. So I can still understand what each product is or feature is and how that relates to the work that we're doing for our customers. I don't see that, and I haven't seen that much in my previous careers with other technologies. Like,
Sorry. Guys, can you please mute whoever is not speaking? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, please.
no worries. Yeah. So, I didn't get to see that in the other technologies. Like I remember I started at Accenture right out of college with no technical background. And I was working on PeopleSoft Financial. And I didn't realize it was PeopleSoft Financial because we were customizing it so much. And then slowly I learned on my own. I had to do my own research. And there wasn't a lot unless I had to go to like ask my team, like supervisors, to take a special course to go learn it. It wasn't just at the fingertips like Salesforce is.
Right. So I think the story is similar. Even I started that way on my own. That time, I mean, it was like 12 years ago. That time, the help file was only available. But now,
Yeah.
with Trailblazer community, it's even bigger, I would say.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing about like outside of trailheads, the one other key thing is the Trailblazer community, right? Like so many people volunteer their time on the forums for Trailblazer community groups, right? The Q&A groups, the Trailhead forum groups. Like there's so much involvement that you're not just reading material in a one directional way and it's flat. It's very interactive too. You can reach out and just throw your question out there and somebody from some part of the world who knows it will answer it for you. Like that also is so powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. One other aspect is that I have seen you working mostly on the business analyst side and actually mentoring women as business analysts. So, how do you mentor women and keep encouraging them to become highly skilled business analysts? What is that key behind that?
I think so, to be a good BA or BAs in general are consultants because they're always digging for information in a good way. And I think for women that, and I'm not saying men don't have it, but I've just seen that a lot of women already have that gene, the critical thinking aspect and the curiosity and peeling the onion till you get to the core. So I think that's where I just remind them to like, how do we take the information and this, again, the skills you've been applying on a daily basis of asking the right questions, understanding the big picture, and then putting all that together in a way that makes sense. So from a BA perspective, what is a good BA? A good BA is someone like a detective with critical thinking who can ask a lot of questions and get to the bottom of it. And women tend to be really good at that I've seen. Not saying everybody, and not saying men can't do it, but that is one that is a skill set I feel a lot of women have automatically, innately.
Yeah, so being Sherlock Holmes, right? Cool, cool. I think that's something people will be able to relate very easily. That it's a very good point that women are natural detectives of their
Yeah,
families.
yeah,
So they do get to the core of anything that
right.
happens at home as well, right? So
Exactly. I don't know about you, but my mom knew everything, even if I didn't tell her, right? So that's the data points I'm relying off of.
yes, 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 absolutely. So another thing is that I think many women want to hear the success stories of people like us who have been in the industry for like 15, 20 years now, right? So what are the small steps that you recommend to them to come back after like long career gaps? Because I also run a program called as IntelliMoms, where I also try to get back women to work, but it will be very good to hear from you your point of view, that what do you really recommend to these women who are coming back after long break.
I think it's the things that we do with when we're mentoring and coaching is like, let's talk about what skills you do have. Do you have any previous work experience or not? Right. And it's okay if you don't, there's still skills that come through. So it's one, understanding and gaining confidence in what you're already bringing to the table, because a lot of people come to the table and think they have nothing to offer and they have to start
Mm.
from scratch, which is not true.
Yeah.
Like, you might not have in 20, like I have 18 years of industry experience. You might not have 18 years of industry experience, but you might have 18 years of running a household and managing your family, or 5 years of career experience, and then the last 13 years of running your household, whatever that looks like, right? Figure out what you think your strengths are from a soft skill perspective, so you have some level of confidence and you know what you can offer. Then also understand, like, what are the things you enjoy and why are you coming back to the workforce,
Right.
right? Like, or entering the workforce for the first time. And what is it about that? And be curious, be open-minded, be flexible. If you do that, you're going to start picking, like, oh, I like doing this, but I don't like this aspect. I like this, but I don't like this. And the more curious you are, you're going to explore, versus someone told you this is the path you should go and you just go do it, even if you don't enjoy it, because you think that's the answer of entering into the workforce, which is not true. There are a million ways to enter into the workforce, and you should pick the one that sits well with you, because at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you do, everything else just falls in place, because the more you enjoy what you do, the more curious you are, the more you have the learner's mindset, the more you're flexible around it. There's just so much more that innately comes out because
Right.
you're enjoying what you do. If you're like miserable at what you do, but you think this is your way to enter the workforce because someone told you, or three other people in your network, that's how they did it, so this is the only way you should do it, that
No.
you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be disengaged. You're going to put effort in it, but it's not going to resonate as much either. So that's what I would say is, like, as you're coming in, stay open-minded and curious. I went into consulting not really knowing what consulting was, with no IT background, because in that time frame, I was also entering the workforce for the first time. But that's where I was reminded about my soft skills of like leadership, team collaboration, communication, and the ability to learn things so quickly that within 3 weeks at Accenture, I was running my own testing. And within 2 months, I was in front of like the most high level executives running the demos myself. And I just joined the team because I had that learner's mindset and the curiosity to be able to do that. So I would say focus on that.
Right. So that's the natural instinct basically you should choose and go with, right?
Yeah. And explore. I
Mm.
explored so many different roles before I chose the one I liked.
Correct, correct, correct. Absolutely. So primarily, as in when we say we were talking about like one side of the story so far, right? So, what about the other part of the story? Like, why it should be like important? Why do you think it is important for the organizations to support the re-entry of the women? Because many a times when you are actually looking at the organizations, large organizations, small organizations, so they are kind of the overall the relevant work experience is so much. But I think, as you rightly said, being a homemaker is, I think, the most
Yeah.
relevant experience, right? So we should promptly say that proud homemaker for last 10 years, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Um, I think it's important for organizations because right now, there is a shortage of talent, even though there's a lot of layoffs in the tech industry, there's shortage on good talent, right? In the sense that I'm always like, hey guys, I need somebody who has exactly these. So we're kind of looking for those unicorns to a certain degree. And because there's a shortage on that, and a lot of organizations do invest time in the people who have that critical thinking, that curiosity, the flexibility to learn. I think it's important to remind the organizations that people re-entering the workforce
Mhm.
have that. And if you open your hiring standards to that as well, you may actually get the talent you're seeking in a way that you're seeking. And also there might be a loyalty factor, right? The more you help support somebody train up and give them that platform, they may also enjoy that and want to stay, depending on the culture of the organization and how much they can continue to grow there.
True, true, true. Absolutely. I think that's a good point to talk about. One other thing that comes to my mind with this is that there are some misconceptions and biases that basically these women face, right, when they are actually coming back. So, how can it be made smoother by the organizations to help them come back and also retain them so that they are able to kind of continue on the track that they have chosen, or at least try
Yeah.
some tracks, right?
Uh, I think it's more individual based than an organization based. I think on the organization side, flexibility is the key, like
Mhm.
understanding and flexibility, right? I can give you examples of the women I have worked with that were coming back into the workforce
Mhm.
is, you know, they, it was also their first time after a long time. So especially the women I worked with, they were moms taking care of their kids. And so I needed to be understanding that this is new for them to be leaving their kids, have a refocus into work and not as much on the kids. So I had to be flexible that
Mhm.
if certain days they needed to leave early or something came up, I had to be understanding and flexible. On
True.
the other side, the resources, the reason my flexibility and understanding was always there is their drive and ambition to actually want to be here at Candor and want to learn and want to continue to do their best was also there. So it was an equal balance of like, I want to be here. And so it was like, I want you to be here. How do I help you? And how do we work around this? Because I know how much you want to be here. And it was that like drove collectively. I don't think it's one side or the other. It really
Yes.
needs to be an equal balance and transparent conversations, right? I've been lucky enough to work in a lot of organizations where they were named like working mom, best company for working moms in the top 10 because they provided that flexibility and different schedules for
Mhm.
each mother on what their needs were. So I think it's also like advocating for yourself and saying, this is what I'm looking for, but I'm still going to deliver results and add value to your organization. And this is how, and sticking to that.
Yes, yes, yes. And to some extent, I believe that even the networking groups and the support groups play a vital role in this activity,
Yes,
right? So,
exactly.
yeah, so what is your point of view around that, that how it can be specifically tailored in, say, the business analysis field for the women with the help of the network and the support groups, right? So how can we kind of go that direction?
I think again there's so many different network groups and so many different programs. I think it's finding one that's right for you in a way that really supports you. So, a lot of the support groups asking for a mentor, looking at other women who have been solid BAs and you want to get tips and tricks from them, and asking them, like, as you're doing your own work, getting help there, not asking them to do your work, but more like, hey, I was thinking about approaching it this way. What do you think? Is there other things you would recommend that I do? Or I'm struggling here. Can you like guide me on what I should be doing and how I can ask for help inside my organization and things like that? So that's one aspect. Then there's other groups that actually give you skill up courses on here's how you can be a BA and kind of teach that to you and give you the skill sets. So I think it's just a matter of what your needs are and then finding the right group and the network. And
Yeah.
again, having transparent conversations and asking for help when you need it.
Right, right. No, absolutely. That's right. One other thing I was wondering, I think we spoke about the natural instincts that women have and the multitasking thing which is there, right? So that gives a natural kind of natural, I would say, I'm not getting the right keyword, but then that's the basic value addition that these women bring back, right? So,
Mhm.
what is it apart from these, like, which actually sets the women apart from the uh, other workforce, right? So, and especially these moms who come back, right? So what are the other key things that you think are unique problem solving things that help them give a value add to the organizations that they're coming back to?
I think it's just those skill sets that I mentioned, right? Like communication is a key.
Mhm.
The critical thinking aspect of like asking the whys, understanding the big picture, and
Right.
then the ability to do multitasking in a good way, because multitasking can also be a bad thing, right? Because it can be viewed as you're not focused and you're being
Right.
distracted, right? So making sure that it's more about being able to manage multiple things with the best of your ability.
Right.
So those are the key features that you can highlight in ways that you've done that in your personal life while you've been away from the workforce, and really showcase those. Like, here's
Using.
how I was able to apply critical thinking or to manage my, like, in the US, like, kids' activities are crazy. So someone actually built something inside Salesforce to manage their kids' schedules with this one has to soccer practice from this time, then taekwondo, and then homework, and then this and that, right? And then this kid has this, how do we get there? And they built it inside Flow. So that's showcasing a skill set and taking your personal life and then taking a sandbox that Salesforce provides for free and showcasing, like, look, even though I don't have tangible work experience from an industry, I was able to do this to manage my household, and this is how I did it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, just showcasing the ambition, the skill sets, and all of that. And then open communication, like, being a BA, communication is the key, because you need
Right.
to be able to build rapport with your clients or your teams when you're asking for requirements, because otherwise you're not probably going to get the best requirements if you haven't
Right.
created that trust and that level of comfort to have conversations about, like, what are you really trying to get at. And if the client, like for us, sometimes the client is struggling, they're like, I don't know what you mean by that question. And then I have to say it a different way. So also learning other people's communication styles, that's a big one, right? And if you translate that to personal life, parents talk to each kid in a different way because each kid responds to what you're asking for in a different way. So again, showcasing that and saying, I know how to
Yeah.
respond to different audiences and get what I need out of it, because every child is unique. Every child can't be talked to in the same way.
Right.
So how do you manage that? So that's where I'm saying communication is also a big key.
Right. So I'm just loving those examples actually. So applying your day-to-day experience into the
Right.
methodology, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Because that's what it, like, even if I'm interviewing someone in the industry, the work they did at a previous company isn't going to be the same work they do at my company,
Right.
right? It might be similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So
Right.
I'm looking at how did you apply it over there? And can you apply it over here in a similar way? Not what did you exactly do there and repeat it over here.
True, 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 true. Yes, that's the unique thing that you should get there, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you see the future coming along in terms of the trends, in terms of the challenges for the women to actually who are working and then driving them back to work, right? So, what do you think how the future is going to look like?
I think it's opening up more and more because, having these conversations, like I'm even hearing from other CEOs when we're talking about resource shortages and looking at the type of resources we want to bring into our organizations. So many of them are reaching out to organizations like IntelliMoms and others that are focused on women coming back into the workforce, because it also goes back to there's flexibility there on both ends. There's the willingness and ambition and drive. So I think more and more organizations are opening their minds to say, hey, you know what? We haven't really looked at this market before, but there's a whole talent pool sitting here.
True, true.
We can take advantage of this in a great way of finding those unicorns that we're looking for, or even building some of them into the unicorns we want.
Right. Right. No, no, that's actually a fair point. So, I just love working with such talent force because they are so much dedicated because they come from a background where they
Right.
value what they're doing right now because they have been away from it for a long time, right? So
Yeah.
actually is like something that they were striving for it, but were not able to get the opportunities. I
Yeah.
think giving the opportunity is very important.
It is. And, being a mom is the toughest job that's out there. And there was a commercial. I'm gonna have to find the link and send it to you so you can share it with everybody. But it was an interview, and the job description was you work 365 days a week, 24 hours a day, and the pay is zero.
And
You, you still want it because this job is real and it exists, and millions of
um,
people are doing it.
it's a thankless one.
And it's the job of a mom.
Right, absolutely.
And it is one of the toughest jobs to have. So, moms are already doing the toughest job out there in a very thankless way, using all the skill sets that are needed in the workforce. So I think, take a pause and just applaud yourselves, because my mom is 70, and even today, at her age, she's still out there in the kitchen on our family vacation, cooking for everybody and not like letting us do it because that's her thing, right? But it's a thankless job. You think after every meal we're like, thank you, mom, that was delicious. No, we're just like, okay, cool, next. what's for lunch, after breakfast.
What's
So
the
it's
big
a
deal?
very thankless job, but they do it, and you keep doing it. So, I want to applaud all the women who are mothers on this call today, and those who are listening. Like, you are already doing one of the toughest jobs. So coming into the workforce is probably one of the easiest things you're going to do after that job, right? So let's be real. Kids and family are probably your toughest challenges you're ever going to face, with all the different personalities and 24/7 something that when you're at work, at least you can turn your laptop off and walk away. You can't do that at home. So congratulations, you've already passed your biggest life test of the toughest job. So entering the workforce is very easy because you already have so many of those skill sets.
Yes, 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 that's right. Uh, so one more thing that I wanted to ask is that if you can share some of the memorable success stories, right? So uh, of women that you have worked with and then groomed them, right? So if you can share some of the instances that you want to specifically mention here.
Yeah, one of them, she was going through another Salesforce program, and she heard me on one of these conversations and reached out to me after and just was like, hey Pallavi, I loved our conversation. Can I get some advice? And we had a quick call, and she really thought she couldn't transfer into the workforce because of her skill set, and she had taken time off. And she was like, I'm just not getting past the first interview.
Mhm.
And it wasn't her resume. Like her resume was good. It just needed to like be highlighted. Certain things needed to be highlighted more. But the reason she wasn't passing her first round was the lack of confidence she was bringing to the table, because she really thought she was starting from scratch and didn't have anything to offer and had to just learn everything.
Right.
And after a few of our conversations of talking about her transferable skill set and all the things that she had to offer, she went into an interview, and after that she called me back. She's like, I have a second interview and I have a third interview, and was able to land jobs. And in the meantime, we were working to have her skill up, to showcase, one thing is to have the skills, like your soft skills, but the other piece, the technical piece, is also equally important. So what we did was worked on a free, grabbed a free sandbox, put together a use case, and then she built, she took a problem, she solved it inside the sandbox, and then used that as part of her portfolio to say, not only have I learned and passed my exams, I have also applied it in this way. Yes, I don't have a previous job to go to show you my work experience, but here's my work experience that I did on my own to showcase I know how to apply the things I'm learning, and I can come and add value. And now she's been there she has this new job for a year and a half, almost 2, and she's loving it. And one of the things she also did was negotiate her flexibility of, I have 2 young kids, I'm still a mom, and I'm going to work remote 4 days out of the week and come to the office once. And she negotiated that up front. And that gave her the balance that she needed so she could still be with her family, but also follow a passion that she wanted. And, I check in with her once in a while, and she's always telling me how amazing she's doing, and she's loving, and she's learning so much. And she still has that curious mindset, that drive, and it's still there. And the more she does that, the more she's getting engaged on bigger projects at her organization and learning. And I could repeat the same story again for 2 or 3 others, but it's a similar story.
No, absolutely. And especially, I mean, in my view, right? So when the kids grow to like 5 to 6 years old, right? So they start going to full-time schools. So you have good 6 to 8 hours to kind of focus on the things that you want to do for yourself.
Right.
And
Yeah.
why not? I mean, you can kind of split some time, manage some time. When they come back, give that time to them. After that, you can kind of reconvene for the calls and all that. So that's how you can kind of work.
And another thing I just want to challenge is, you don't have to come back full time.
Yeah.
Right? There's plenty of opportunities out there that allow flexible work or part-time work.
Yeah.
And so, really think about what works for you, and then come to the table and look for organizations that support you in that regard, right? Like my mom, when we were younger, she was part-time. She worked in the evenings after dad came home and did her clinical work then. But then when we got a little older, she did do full-time, but they managed it in a way that by the time we were back from school in the evening, she was home, even if my dad was working late. But in the mornings, my dad reversed the role and supported us there. So it just depends on what works for your household and what support you also have, because your support is also needed in order for you not to burn out. Right? Because burnout is also real. And if you think moms are super moms, like superhuman power, superwoman, but not to the extent that burnout is your kryptonite as mothers. So just make sure when you're going into the workforce, you're thinking about, should I come in maybe 20 hours a week and start with a flexible schedule? Or, Monica, to your point, if my kids are in school, do I do 4 hours of, meetings in that time frame? And then, yes, I will do all my work offline after the kids are in bed, because I also need to do some household work in the time that they're away and things like that. So whatever works for you, figure that schedule out, and then go look for the organizations, because 100% guarantee you there is an organization that has your name on it.
Yeah.
Already with a position and a flag with your name on it that fits exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that is the prime reason that this program, IntelliMoms, and the way that you are mentoring women around coaching them is actually close to my heart because, I mean, I think this happens to everyone. Though I didn't leave my job, I had an opportunity. My organization offered me a sabbatical at that time. But when I came back, my manager, she was so much supporting this. Yes, Monica, you go back home at 5:30, take care of your child, and then you can
Yeah,
log in back at 9 when she is asleep. And you can kind of take the calls because my project was US based project, right?
right.
So this is like something like a blessing actually for you, right? So women should
Yeah,
support women, I would say, and all the organizations should support, be it a male manager or female manager, right?
yeah, and I think it also depends on, your audience. So for example, like I'm on holiday right now with with my family, and my sister has two young kids. And yesterday the kids just would not leave me. And so there were times, depending on the clients I was on calls with or the internal calls I was having, the kids were on the calls with me.
Yeah,
And it just depends. Like I know my clients are okay with that because we have a very open relationship around that. And I was very honest with them that, hey, I'm with my niece and nephew right now. The and so they were like, that's okay, bring them. We want to see them. And we still had a good meeting. It wasn't like a big distraction. We still had a very good meeting. It just depends. Like I have interviewed women coming into the workforce with little kids, and I hear the kids crying in the background. And just pause the interview and I'm like, I'm sorry, can you first please pick up your kid? And
yeah,
they almost cry because they've never had that safe space. Because people think that, if I have a child and I have to work, I have to choose one or the other. That's what I'm saying. Find the organization that works for you and with you in that regard, because sometimes my niece and nephew, I've worked out of my sister's house so many times and I run a company. I
yeah.
will cradle the child next to me on a call or hold them while they're sleeping and have the calls, because the reality is we're in a hybrid situation. After the pandemic, not everyone has an office anymore. We're working remote, and not everyone can afford daycare either. So it just depends on what your thing is. Go find it.
Yes,
You
yes,
don't have to
absolutely,
pick one or the other. You really don't.
absolutely, absolutely. So guys, whoever is listening out there, I think this was an amazing conversation. And to everyone out there, Pallavi and I are actually committed to our Moms Back to Work program. So you can reach out to us anytime. We are there to help you out, right, Pallavi?
Yes, definitely. Please just reach out to me on LinkedIn and send a message, and then we can coordinate how to set up time.
Yeah, surely. So, Pallavi, before we wind up, anything you want to kind of tell people out and kind of summarize your conversation about all of this and how
Yeah.
how energetic or how enthusiastic you are about this?
One, I just want to thank everyone for still hanging on and listening to us babble about all of this. I really appreciate it. But seriously, I think, if I was to sum up this conversation, it's about figure out what works best for you. Remember that you have the toughest job already. So coming into the workforce, it's not that daunting. Remember that you have a lot of skills that apply to the workforce today, even if you haven't had any workforce experience. And don't be scared. Like, we're here to support you. There's so many other organizations and people out there to support you. So you have an army of women and allies standing behind you on anything you do coming into the workforce.
Absolutely, that's awesome, Pallavi. So that summarized it very well. And guys, so with our programs, you can definitely take a lot of benefit. So we have IntelliMoms, and there is Pallavi who is supporting and bringing out the niche and the unique skills out of the women as analysts, as the critical thinkers, as application. I mean, do apply your knowledge that you've gained through these years with your homemaking skills, with your kids, with managing, doing multitasking, you still bring everything to closure and ensure that everything is tic-tac at your home, right? So apply that knowledge to the workforce and enjoy it, right? So enjoy it, pick up the right thing, right? So thank you so much, Pallavi, for your time. I really loved talking to you. And there was the best moment was that Sherlock Holmes thing. So be a I really love that. So thank you so much for your time, Pallavi. It was really great, an interesting conversation. So girls, please take benefit of it. Do connect with us, and thank you so much for your time today. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. See you. Bye.